Hey guys, Sethley here back with another Apex Legends video. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Now in today's video, we're going to be going over the new Ask Me Anything that did go down on Reddit earlier today. And if you guys aren't aware of what this is, it is a subreddit where you guys can go ahead and ask questions to all of the Respawn devs, or at least some of them, and get some answers from them. I'm not too sure. I think it is ending soon. So I'm going to go over all of the questions and important things that I saw that devs replied. So Respawn tweeted out saying, our AMA on weapons and legends is happening now. The dev team is ready to answer all your questions about the meta and balancing. Join us. So let's get into it and go over some of the most important replies from devs that I noticed or I think should be talked about and you guys should know about. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Somebody said, any planned changes or bug fixes for Mirage? He's been my favorite since launch and still has bugs from day one in game. Decoys destroying themselves from heights or destroying from running into something, to name a few. Also, his heirloom is still a pay to lose to my knowledge. Only the real Mirage has the trophy on them and none of the decoys do. I know he'll never be a top legend, but some more changes to his kit would be really appreciated. And a Respawn lead game designer replied to this question and said, while we can't speak to or spoil any future content, many of these bugs are known and logged. They are odd interactions with terrain that are difficult to track down, but hopefully we can make improvements here in future seasons. We did recently fix a speed issue when a Mirage decoy is launched, but we know there are still plenty of areas to improve. So at least we know that they are aware of these bugs and they are planning a patch for Mirage in the future once they can figure out all of the terrain difficulties and get that fixed and have a solution for those problems with Mirage. Next, somebody asked, not sure if you can discuss this, but do you guys ever try to create weapons made exclusively for care packages like the Kraber? Personally, I think the EPG would make an amazing airdrop gun. And a Respawn senior game designer replied to this and said, it's not completely off the table and we've definitely prototyped some care package only weapons, but ultimately with the amount of work it takes to build new and exciting weapons, limiting them to the care package feels underwhelming. I'm not saying we won't ever do it, but when evaluating how we want to spend our dev time, weapons that can be cycled onto the floor are valued much higher because they can impact the meta in a more meaningful way as we continue to refine and balance the game. So I do understand where he is coming from entirely. We don't necessarily need a new care package weapon, and I would not be too mad at a new floor loot weapon. So potentially we might get one in the next season. Unfortunately, he couldn't confirm that, but I'm sure they are working on a weapon for the future. But let's get on to the next question I wanted to go over. Somebody said, why does legend balancing happen so infrequently? It's odd that we often wait an entire season or several seasons before a legend gets touched, even though they clearly need to be. It also is very underwhelming when the balance changes are very minimal when the legends finally do get touched after so long. And the lead game designer at Respawn replied saying, there is a competing reality in a live service game like Apex where developers have to prioritize their work efforts between feature development for future seasons and balance changes to the existing game. Sometimes minor balance changes are simple to make and just require tuning numbers. Other times they require rewriting abilities or pulling in new animations, visual effects, or audio that must be added to development schedules on top of current release timelines. However, none of these changes can go without testing, both for bugs and to validate that the impact of the change actually works to solve the problem and doesn't create new ones. Because of this, it can take time to see balance changes make it into the game. So there is somewhat of an explanation as to why sometimes balance changes take a long time. But next, somebody asked a question, will there ever be a Wraith tweak? So some sort of change to Wraith. And the lead game designer replied saying, will there ever be a Wraith tweak? Absolutely. Now, this is a very short answer, doesn't give us a lot of information as to what this tweak or change update to Wraith could be in the future or when we will get it, but we do know that Wraith will be getting tweaked in the future, but we just don't know how, when, or why. But let's get on to the next question. Somebody said, are there plans for more support legends in the future? Are you guys trying to avoid a heal off meta? Also, are there any plans for the support class be reworked so all legends will be able to open blue bins? And the lead game designer replied saying, you'll have to wait to see what each new season holds, I'm afraid, but support legends are one of the more difficult roles to bring to Apex without over-indexing in healing and resets that make fights drag on and upset the already high time to kill of the game. That being said, we do want to bring a more balanced roster of class roles to the table in the future at some point. So it's good to know that they're trying to balance out the number of each type of legend and their roles, so they probably will be doing that in the future with the next legends we will be getting. Next, somebody asked, any chance that we will get a Seer Nerf in the coming balance update, and what are your thoughts on the concept of Bangalore Smoke's countering scan abilities? The lead game designer replied saying, I can't speak to future changes at this point, however, we're aware of the concerns surrounding scan abilities in the game. Bangalore Smoke hard countering scan abilities has come up before, but we are more keen to find a way to address the frustrations with scans on whole, rather than enforce her to be the answer to the problem, especially if the result would take away from Bangalore's personal play potential off her own smokes. So we don't really know if they're going to do anything with that Bangalore Smoke idea, but it does look like they are clearly aware of the concerns surrounding scan abilities in the game. And I'm sure they're specifically talking about like Bloodhound and Seer. Obviously, there are other scan abilities, but when I think of scan abilities, I think of Bloodhound and Seer. So it looks like they are aware of some of the concerns about how there are so many scan abilities in the game. Now, somebody else asked something similar. They said, what's the thinking behind so many wall hack style abilities? Do you have plans to move away from that or build counters to it since it's already so prevalent? And the lead game designer replied saying, we are actively looking into the frustration that can come from these abilities and finding ways to reduce it without crippling the identity of the legends who wield them. So to me, this says a potential nerf for Bloodhound and other legends who have scans like Seer. A potential nerf could come in the future, adjusting the way those are used. Another person also asked, are there any discussions or plans to make Seer's passive more readable for enemies and giving it more of a risk reward to fall in line with the other scanning legends? And the lead game designer gave us a big reply, but the main thing he said was, however, considering Seer's recent rise into the meta, we're noticing the power of Seer's passive taken to great extremes, and it's been a big topic of discussion in our balance meetings. We have no updates at this point, but targeting the power of Seer's passive is something we have been actively looking into. So I'm definitely excited to see what they come up with to counter those scan abilities in game, or rather than counter, potentially nerf them. I'm definitely excited to see what they figure out for that. But the lead game designer had even more to say on this. Somebody said, we were previously told that the scan meta was going to be addressed, any updates? And he said, we understand the frustrations around legend abilities that scan and their tactical dominance at higher levels of play. Some of these abilities, however, are core to the play patterns and identities of the legends themselves, so it's not a simple task to address. We are actively looking into it and playtesting potential iterations, but we want to be comfortable with changes that reduce their frustration without reducing the value of these legends in the squad before any release. So clearly they are playtesting some sort of tweaks, nerfs, and changes to scanning abilities to address the problem, so there is more confirmation that we will have some sort of nerf or change coming in the near future. Next, I wanted to cover something that I know a lot of you guys care about. So somebody said many seasons ago, Pathfinder was given a temporary passive while a real one was being brainstormed. At least that's how it was presented to the community. Are y'all still brainstorming, or have you decided Pathfinder doesn't deserve a real passive? And the lead game designer did reply to this. He said, we're very aware of this perception of Pathfinder, and we've heard numerous suggestions of new passives from the team and the community. We are looking at it, but we don't want to slap a new passive on a legend who is already well-liked, powerful, and performing well at the risk of adding to his already potent combat power or shifting development time that is needed to service other legends or meta concerns when there's no immediate need. But I'm hopeful the future is friendly in upcoming seasons. So currently it doesn't seem like they have any plans to give Pathfinder a new, better passive, but they are looking into it and they are aware of the situation. They just don't feel that it's a necessary change that needs to be added into the game as soon as possible. But the last question I wanted to go over that was covered in this Reddit Ask Me Anything with the devs was this. Somebody said, what were the craziest weapon ideas you guys came up in meetings which almost made it into the game? And the senior game designer replied saying, now we're talking. We prototyped a shotgun where each of the pellets was basically a bouncy ball. You could shoot it into a room and it was pure chaos. Each bounce reduced the damage of the pellet, and it was designed to be sort of like a flushing out tool, but ultimately taking bullet damage from enemies you cannot see felt unfair. We ended up scrapping the idea, but it was a pretty hectic couple of playtests. And I'm gotta say, I'm kind of happy they did scrap that, but it is interesting to hear some ideas they had for other weapons. The last one he did mention was a very early iteration of the Rampage where it lit people on fire and allowed you to paint thermite wherever you shot. It was actually pretty cool to tactically put thermite patches down, but we found layering and shooting the ground people walked on to maximize their panic, and your own area control was just too much in a number of ways. And I see why they decided on not doing that with the Rampage. But that's all of the questions and answers I did want to cover from this Reddit Ask Me Anything. Make sure to let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about this. Do you guys want to see the scanning abilities meta changed or fix some sort of nerf for Seer or Bloodhound, as well as what type of new weapons and changes and balance changes do you guys want to see in the future of Apex Legends? But if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that like button. It really does help me a ton. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. It's been your boy Sathley, and I'm out.